Hello, hello, and welcome. So, this is now week 2 of what I've been calling in my head the 20-10-10. 20 weeks based on my 20 years of experience. Of course, the first 10 were in misery, completely out of control with food. And then the second 10 years were freedom and growth and health and just better than I ever could have imagined in a million years. So this episode is going to be exceptionally important because if I could only teach you one thing, this is the thing that I would teach you. This one thing will affect every other thing that you do from here forward. And for your relationship with food, this is going to be crucial. But also know that what I'm teaching you here can be applied to literally any other area of your life in any kind of goal that you have. I'm going to show you how we'll apply it to food, and then maybe we'll apply it to some other things as well, just so you can get in your brain how this really works. Okay, so I want us to start with a little mantra. And this mantra, if you only remember one thing from this episode, this is what I want you to remember, okay? Here's the mantra. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. I'll explain what this means and why it matters so much. So what it means is your attention or your focus is literally what will build your reality. Whatever you focus your attention on, that's going to then dictate what actions you take, what you think, what your goal setting plans are. It's going to literally affect everything. And it all just starts with your focus, right? Where your mind is at. And I'm sure that this also seems obvious at first, right? When we put our attention on something, that's where our thought power goes. That's where our actions go. That's where our emotional energy goes. Everything funnels towards that. So what this goes to show is how powerful and important your mind actually is. And this is great news because we all have a mind and we all get to decide what we want our mind to focus on. So where's the problem? Where's the problem? The problem comes with the inherent danger of that number one, if you don't have a clear focus, or if you're focused, and this is what I see a lot of people do with food, if you're focused on what you don't want instead of what you do want, you will accidentally create what you don't want. Why? Now, there are many scientific and psychological reasons why this matter. I'm not going to get deep into that here because I want to stay focused on the practical, but just know that the more attention, the more emotion, the more energy we put on something, the more your brain notices it, the more your brain rehearses it, and then organizes all of your behavior around it. So theoretically, this is actually a really great thing, right? Because then when we have a goal or we have something that's important to us, we know how powerful our mind really is. And we know that when we do put our attention on that, when we do focus our energy on that, then everything else will start to organize itself to support what we're focusing on. So this is actually a really good thing that we have already wired into our brains. So what's the problem? What most people do, myself included, we focus on what we don't want. Have you ever heard that saying, don't think of the purple elephant? You're thinking about the purple elephant. You see what I mean? So I want to give you a few examples with food that I personally did for years while I was struggling, while I was dealing with binge eating every single day, while I was fighting cravings constantly, fighting my own mind. I want to show you what I was actually focusing on because I guarantee you, you are focusing on at least one of these things, creating more of what you don't want. So the first one I want to give you was around sugar. Back in the day, I was absolutely obsessed with sugar. I was either binging on it or I was on a no sugar challenge. And I even actually found this post that I saved because I wanted to share with you guys. I did this post on my Facebook page on February 1st, 2015. I want to read you what I wrote on this post. It says, join me for a 40-day no sugar challenge starting February 1st. I will be posting motivation, recipes, support, and education about why this will change your life and bring you benefits such as reduced belly fat, emotional stability, heart health, and better skin. More to come. If 30 days is more your speed, start preparing yourself now. So, this post that I made, I want you to look at where my attention was, right? Motivation to not eat sugar, recipes that don't have sugar, support to not eat sugar, bad things that will happen to you if you eat sugar. So notice where my brain is, where my attention goes, my energy flows. Right now, my North Star, everything that my mind is going towards is sugar, because in order to avoid it, I have to hyperfixate on it. And this is not just for 40 days. This was like 10 days before I actually started. So I can only imagine what I was doing at this time was binge eating sugar in preparation to not have sugar. So notice how many times, even just telling you this story, I've even said the word sugar, right? That gives you a glimpse into where my mind was at. Now, what's the problem with this? What's the problem with this? My goal is no sugar, but look at what I'm focusing on more than anything else. How successful do you think that I will be when this is the thing I want freedom from, when this is the thing I want peace from, yet I'm basically training my mind to obsess about it? That is not what free people do. That is not what people do when they're actually at peace with something, when it's not an issue for them. They're not constantly obsessing about it. So already this is very out of alignment with what I actually wanted, which was genuine freedom from these thoughts. Okay, so you're starting to see how this works. Now I want to give you another example that I see pretty much every single person do before they come to work with me. And I want to tell you how this manifested for me too 15 years ago when I was struggling with this. So here's what I was doing. I was saying, I need to stop binge eating. I need to stop binge eating. I need to stop binge eating. This was a record that was constantly playing in my head, or I would look things up online. How do people end binge eating? What do you do when a binge urge comes up? I would start to make rules like, this is my last binge, or tomorrow's going to be my last binge, or I'm going to have one more week of binges and then I'm going to start fresh on Monday. I would make lists in my notebook. I would have a binge substitute list. Here's what to do instead. Also in my journal, I'm going to count how many days I can get without a binge. So notice how everything in my consciousness is centered around binges. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. So here I am wanting freedom from the urge to binge, yet what is all of my attention hyper focused on? Binges. I'm training my brain to constantly think about the opposite of the kind of person I want to be. The kind of person I want to be is somebody who doesn't even think about binges. It doesn't even cross their mind. Yet what I'm doing is focusing all of my attention on binges. So you're starting to see where you do this too. Now, it's a natural thing, right? Because when we have a problem and we're problem solvers, we say, okay, well, this is the problem. I need to get rid of this problem. So we hyper focus on the problem. However, that is not what is going to work in this situation, because what it does is it just attracts more of the problem to us, because where your attention goes, your energy flows. So you see where I'm going with this. I'll still give you more examples, but I want to start showing you now the shift that we have to make so our mind doesn't hyper focus on the thing that we don't want. Okay? This is the shift. Now, remember our mantra, right? Where your attention goes, your energy flows. So essentially what you're choosing here is a new North Star, but one that is completely aligned with what it is that you do want. Okay, so we're shifting from the negative, from what we don't want, into the positive of what we do want. So that way our mind actually can latch onto something that's creatable. And then everything will start to organize itself to serve that North Star. So your thoughts, your behaviors, your actions, your choices will start to serve that. So not only does this serve as your focus, but your North Star actually also serves as your filter. What do I mean by filter? You'll start to filter out the things in your life that do not support this. I'll give you an example. So I had a client. This was before she was my client. She just reached out to me. She sent me a message saying that she was at a crossroads in her life because she found my podcast a few years ago. She listened to it for a while, then started going down some other roads. And now she found herself signed up for bariatric surgery. And she had her surgery date and she was starting to go through all the process. But deep down, she had this like intuitive knowing that this was not the right path for her. So she messaged me because she was considering my program instead of the surgery. So she asked me, Katie, what do you think I should do? And I said, first of all, I'm not going to tell you what to do. This is a huge decision. I'm not going to make this decision for you or tell you what you should or shouldn't do. But what I can do is ask you questions so you can decide what's most aligned with your values and what you care about. So I said, let's just start by forgetting about this decision that you need to make. And let's just focus on what you care about. So if you were to narrow down what you truly, truly want, like if you could get one outcome, one result that would be just worth everything, what is it that you want for yourself? So she thinks about it. And what she says is, what I really would like is to just not have to think about this anymore. Like, I'm so tired of thinking about food, planning food, worrying about food, being so on top of food all the time. It's just so much food noise in my head constantly. The biggest change that I would love to have in my life is to not have that food noise anymore. I said, okay, so that's what you don't want, right? You don't want the food noise. Now, let's flip that to make it positive. What does that mean you do want? Who would you be without that food noise? She said, well, that just sounds like peace. Like I would be peaceful because without all that food noise, it would just be peace. I said, okay, so what you want is peace without all of this food noise and all of this constant thinking about food all the time. I said, so now let's look at your options. You have the surgery. Now, is the surgery going to make you think about food more or less or the same? And without hesitation, she said, well, it's going to be more because I'm going to have to focus on following these exact things. I'm not going to be able to eat this for this amount of time. I'm going to have to stick with the exact calories that they tell me. So I'm going to have to think about it way more. I said, not only are you going to have to think about it way more now, but because this surgery is going to essentially make your body less efficient, right? You're taking out part of your stomach. So your body's not going to work as well. So you're now going to have to be mindful of this for the rest of your life. Like this is not just going to be a few months recovering from surgery. This is going to be ongoing, that you're always going to have this in the forefront of your mind. So you're essentially committing to what it is that you don't want. What you want more than anything else is to have peace, to not have to think about this. By going through with the surgery, you're making it even harder for yourself to be free of this. She was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about it like that. So for her, the answer became obvious. Not only was she not going to go forward with the surgery, but she didn't even want to do the diets and stuff that she used to do anymore because that too was forcing her to constantly think about food, because in order to stay on the plan, you have to constantly think about it. You have to pre-plan. You always have to have it at the forefront of your mind. The reason she ended up working with me is because what I teach is to become the person who is at peace with food to the point where it doesn't even come into your mind anymore. Like I no longer have constant food thoughts. I used to, and now I don't. I'm not constantly planning or constantly recovering or constantly gearing up for the next thing. Instead, food just has its rightful place, and I can focus my energy on myself and the people I care about. And food is not this dark cloud that's constantly following me around, hovering over me. So because she got clear on what her North Star was, that became then her filter on what actions she was going to take next. And at that point, the decision she started making revolved around her new North Star, which was the peace that she was seeking. And everything in my program, I've built around that peace. And she also knew that if her North Star was peace and she focused on building genuine peace in her relationship with food, then all the other things would start to take care of themselves. Like the symptom that she was dealing with, which was the weight, right? Like when we have a genuinely healthy relationship with food and we eat according to our body signals, the natural outcome of that is for the body to find its happy place, its happy weight. So let's actually look at even losing weight as an example, okay? Because a lot of us, we got into this disordered eating pattern in the first place because we set out to lose weight somehow. Maybe we joined a program or a diet or Weight Watchers or something like that. But here's the thing. We're still focusing on what we don't want, right? Weight. I need to lose weight. I got to lose weight. I can't gain weight. Like everything's about weight. So what do we start to attract more toward us? Weight. Weight. Meanwhile, what do we truly want more than anything? We don't want to have to think about our weight, right? We don't want to have to think about it. So losing weight can't be the North Star anymore. Also, look at it this way, especially when you're creating your new North Star. Losing weight is not actually what you want. It's not. And I know you think I'm crazy for saying that, but hear me out. If someone came by your house today, surprised you, came inside, and just cut off one of your arms, you would have lost weight. You would have lost 10 pounds, right? And you would have lost 10 pounds really, really quickly, which technically is what you want. But you didn't want it like that, right? So if losing weight isn't really what you want, what is? Now, why is it important that my mind is fixated on that? Because now this is also going to affect how I even show up to achieve that goal. Like when I would set a set number of pounds for myself that I wanted to lose, like let's say I want to lose 20 pounds and I want to lose 20 pounds over 4 months. Okay. So that's 5 pounds a month. So let's say in month number 1, I'm about halfway through and I've only lost half a pound. I'm going to be super discouraged, right? Because I already set this goal for 20 pounds in 4 months. I'm already halfway through the first month. I've only lost half a pound. I have 4.5 more pounds to go in just 2 weeks. That's really discouraging, right? So what might I do then? I might say, well, maybe this month is already a wash. I'll just eat whatever I want for the rest of the month. I still have 2 weeks. And then on the first of next month, that will be my real starting date. And I'll set the goal of 5 pounds a month. And I'm going to take it really, really seriously. So look at how already having that goal weight discouraged me from actually doing the things that I need to do to reach that goal weight. Now I'm actually doing the opposite. So essentially, the lose weight, that's a very small context that you're giving yourself. You need to have a bigger context, the bigger why of why this is important to you as your North Star. So that way everything can serve the bigger vision. And also what that means is once you actually reach your goal weight and then you don't have the feelings that you thought you'd have, that you don't actually feel peaceful now. I talked about this last episode, that you don't actually feel peaceful now. That you still don't feel confident in your body. Like there's been so many times where I actually did lose the weight that I wanted and still felt like crap and still felt completely out of control around food, even though I had reached my goal. So this is why I'm saying if I could only teach you one thing, I want to teach you this shift. Instead of focusing all of your energy and obsessing over what you don't want and then actually creating what you don't want, shift to what it is that you do want and have a very clear North Star, which is your why you want this. What is the bigger thing that you're building here? So many of us, because we've struggled for so long, we've lowered the bar so much for what we want. And we'll say things like, oh, I would just love to even go like a week without binging. Like, what kind of vision is that? You're not even creating anything. How do you build that? Instead, your mind is just going to focus on the one thing that you can't have. You might have heard me give this example before. Like if we were all going on a diet together tomorrow and I said, okay, well, the only thing that we can't have starting tomorrow is chocolate. What are we all going to go out and buy today? Even if I wasn't thinking of chocolate, because I can't have it starting tomorrow, That's what I'm going to want now. Chocolate just became my North Star because that's the one thing I can't have. So we need to bring our North Stars into the positive, what we want to create for ourselves. And the why is important behind why we want to create that. Okay, so you're with me so far. You get what I'm saying. Now, I want to give you an example that is just crazy because this happened to me this year. Okay. I want to show you how I got trapped in this again for such a long time, but with a different area of my life. And I want to just show you because the more your brain can see how this can happen, you'll start to see it in yourself more and you'll be able to make these shifts for yourself. Okay. So as some of you guys know, if you've been listening for a while, oh, I don't know if you could just hear the thunder. It's like an ominous story coming right now. As soon as I said that, it started thundering. Okay. So right before the new year, so right before 2026 was the very last podcast episode that I had recorded until, these past couple weeks. So that podcast episode was about this exercise that I would always do right before the new year where I'd kind of just assess my life and I'd kind of zoom out. So after I recorded that episode for you guys, I did this exercise myself. And I had this epiphany where I realized, because one of the things that I've been struggling with literally for the last 10 years has been chronic pain. It kind of started with all of my compulsive over exercising from when I was binge eating and struggling with food. And when I injured myself so badly that I couldn't exercise. And that was actually the point where I got really serious and I was like, okay, I need to start fixing my food issues at the root because now I don't have the compulsive over exercising to counter all of what I was eating. So this was a turning point for me with food. However, with pain, this became then a whole 10-year journey that I've been on over this last decade. Like I have been struggling with chronic pain. I mean, it used to be constant to the point where it would even wake me up from my sleep. It got to the point where sometimes I would just fantasize about being dead, just not being in my body anymore, and how nice that would be to not be in my body. I was like, well, at least one day this will all be over. So it was really bad. I still struggle with pain. I'm like literally in pain right now. But the way that this manifested over these last 10 years was exactly how all my food stuff was manifesting. So basically all of my focus, and listen to my language here, I need to get out of pain. I need to fix these pain issues. I need to fix my hip. I need to fix pain, 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 pain. So I would go to this specialist and say, oh, I've been in this pain and I need to get rid of this pain. Then I'd go to this specialist and I get this MRI and see this doctor and blah, blah, blah. I ended up spending so much of my energy, so much of my time, tens of thousands of dollars just to get out of pain. So notice how my North Star was in the negative. All of my energy was focused on what I don't want, pain. So I'm reinforcing pain to my brain again and again and again, instead of asking myself, well, what is it that I really do want to create? Right? Because I got to the point where the pain was so bad, I lowered my standards, just like we do with food. Oh, I just want to be normal, which was what it became for me. Oh, I just want to be normal. I just want to have like one day of without pain would be amazing. So I was focused on what I wanted to get rid of instead of what I wanted to create. It's literally pouring rain out there. Obviously, you're not going outside right now. Sorry, if you can hear the cat screaming, it's like pouring rain outside. We're not going outside right now. Okay, so I basically was completely backwards once again with my North Star. So this occurred to me when I was recording that podcast episode back in December, and I realized I need to have a North Star that's in the positive, something to create, something to strive for. So what is it that I truly want? And I asked myself that question, what is it that I truly want? And what came forward for me, and this is the summary, I want a body that is so healthy, so strong, so mobile, and so flexible. That's what I really want. And I want that for life. I want to have a body that is strong, mobile, and flexible, even when I'm, by God's grace, 60, 70, 80, 90. I want to always be mobile and strong in my body. Now I have something creatable. And I also know that if I were to create a body that is really strong and is really mobile and is really flexible, the likelihood of me being in constant pain would probably be much lower. I'm not saying I can control the world, but the likelihood is lower because normally the more strong, mobile, flexible we are, the less pain we have, especially if all of that is really balanced. So at that point, what I did was I looked at my life and I saw where I was out of alignment with that. And I saw, because I'm always very honest with myself, that I genuinely was not prioritizing that. Yes, maybe I spent all this time and all this money researching doctors, researching treatments, researching solutions, paying for them, going through them. Like I did all of that, but it was for a very negative North Star, but it also distracted me from what I truly wanted, which was to create a really strong, really mobile, healthy body. I was so fixated on this timeline of I need to get rid of pain. I need to get rid of pain. Meanwhile, I wasn't prioritizing that strong, healthy, mobile body. I was actually doing things that were anti that. Like I was overworking, sitting too much hunched over the computer, or I was prioritizing if my boyfriend at the time wanted to do something in the morning, I wouldn't do my routine in the morning because I did what he wanted to do. So I was basically putting all of these other things before that. Even though I said my priority was my health, I wasn't actually treating it like a true priority. I wasn't actually putting it first. So I realized that at the end of December, I made some major shifts in my life over the next couple of months. And it took me a couple of months to get to where I'm at right now, which is right now, I have been in a routine now. I'm just starting now week 9. So I've been very consistent. Every single day, I've been prioritizing my strength and mobility as a significant portion of my day. And I can tell you, I even had this wrist pain for the last year and a half where I couldn't even reach back to pull my seatbelt down. Like I couldn't even angle my wrist to pull my seatbelt down. It was too painful. Now I can actually put my entire weight on my wrist, which I didn't think I'd ever be able to do again. So I had all these weaknesses and these imbalances, and I still do, but now I have this vision of where I'm going to create a strong, flexible, healthy, mobile body for the rest of my life. And I can tell you guys, keep following me for the next 10 years because I'll be teaching on this next. Like I already know that I'm creating this because now my North Star is so clear that all of my actions that I've been taking have completely changed. All of my actions have completely changed. I am treating this so differently than what I was doing before. And I'll tell you, in terms of consistency and sticking with things, because it's been 8 weeks now that I've been very, very focused on this. Whereas in the past, I never would have been able to stick with anything for more than like a day or two, especially if it was really important to me. I would put so much pressure on it. I wouldn't even be able to stick to it for more than a couple days. But here's where the difference is. And this is what I mean when I say it's important to have a bigger context. It's important to have your big why. Like I know my why now. So for example, today when I woke up, I felt not my greatest. Today is day 2 of my period. I have some brain fog today. My energy is lower than normal. I felt more stiff, more tired. But I know that my North Star is to create this strong, healthy, mobile body. So does that mean I'm going to push myself and go 1,000% in everything that I was going to do? No, because that's going to have the counter effect to what my North Star is. Am I going to just lay in bed and do nothing? No, that has the counter effect to what my North Star is. I want to build a strong, mobile, healthy body. Therefore, I'm going to show up in the capacity that's appropriate for me today. So I still showed up for the whole time, for the whole session, but I just did things more light, a little slower, more careful. And at the end of the session, I felt much better than when I started. So notice how having that bigger context helps so much more. Also, I'll give you just another non-food example. Because I woke up today feeling not my absolute greatest and my brain doesn't always work best on day 2 of my period, I wanted to show up and record this episode for you guys. Now, if my focus was for this to be perfect, to not make any mistakes, to not leave anything out that I wanted to say, I would have said, well, shoot, today's probably not going to be my day to record this because I'm not going to be able to show up as my very best self with my highest ever potential. But instead, my North Star is bigger than that. My North Star in showing up for you guys is to serve you, is to give you something that you can take into your life to help you, to give you new ways to think about things. If my North Star was like, oh, well, I just need to be perfect and I can't make any mistakes, I wouldn't be able to show up for you today. But because my vision is bigger than that, and I'm here to serve you and give you the best of me, no matter what that looks like, I'm able to show up because I know that there's something I said today that's going to resonate with somebody. And I can have faith in that. And I also know that this is not the only podcast episode I'll ever do. And if I'm not at my most on today, that's okay because my mission is bigger than one episode. So you see how it really also helps with consistency when you have a very clear North Star, because then no matter what mode you're in, whether you're motivated or not motivated or inspired or exhausted or however you feel, you're still going to be able to show up in some capacity to move toward that North Star. You're always following the North Star. You're always building something. Even if it's just laying down one brick that day, that's still one more brick than yesterday. You get me? You see how important it is? So we've talked about today, not just shifting from the negative to the positive, like instead of focusing on what you don't want, focusing on what you do want. But now we've also talked about broadening your context. Like, what is your why behind your goal? Like if there was no arbitrary deadline, like I need to lose 25 pounds by this time, or I need to be out of pain by this time. Like if you just had your why, like, why do you want this? What is the goal? Like thinking more so in decades instead of just months. Like instead of the next 2 months, I want this. Like, what do you want to build over the course of decades? That can help your thinking here. Like I know that over the course of decades, I will build a strong, healthy, mobile body. Now I don't worry if by Friday I can't do 5 pull-ups, because that's so small compared to the greater context of things. And this is actually where a lot of my clients actually do succeed with weight loss. It's always the people who no longer focus on weight. Like I even had one client write to me last night. I got her message last night. And she shared with me that because we worked together from October through January. And I got a message from her today saying that since February, she went to the doctor and she just found out that she lost 25 pounds. She had no idea because she stopped focusing on her weight. So she actually probably did average 5 pounds a month. I don't know if it went up and down throughout that time. It doesn't matter. Like some people lose weight in the beginning or gain weight in the beginning. It doesn't matter because now where she's at is she's 25 pounds less and not even trying to maintain it because that hasn't been her focus. Whereas literally for 40 years before that, that was her focus. Now she was surprised. She was surprised because now her North Star is no longer the weight. She has a bigger context now. She's focusing on her peace with food. She's focusing on her healthy relationship with food. So the weight is taking care of itself. The binges are taking care of itself. We don't have to focus on getting rid of those things if we're creating a new identity, a new reality where those things cannot coexist anyway. You get me? So this is the lesson that I wanted to leave you with today. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. So be really, really specific and intentional about what your North Star is. And then anything that you do from that point forward should only point you to your North Star. Oh, and I was thinking of sending this out to my email list. I'll create it, but I have this great exercise that I always give to my clients before they start working with me that helps them identify more and more of what their North Star is and what they're actually creating and to do this shift themselves. So I can give that to you. So if you want that, you can sign up at katiepapo.com/resources and you will get it as soon as it's ready. So I hope this gave you something to think about. And I hope that by me sharing all of my past blunders, you can avoid these mistakes for yourself and you can move forward in just such a clear and intentional way that brings you exactly what you want. So I look forward to seeing you in the next episode on Thursday. And for the next 19 weeks, I'll be here week after week giving you more and more. So make sure to sign up for the email list at katiepapo.com/resources. Follow on Spotify, Apple, and YouTube, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.